Right now, somewhere, someone is about to add $400, $600, maybe $800 to their booking, just for the balcony. They already have the picture in their head, coffee in hand, the sunrise, the ocean right there. That image is what justifies the extra charge. And to be fair, that's not a fantasy. Ask people who've had one, and they'll tell you exactly what they're buying. Instant access to fresh ocean air, natural light, the sound of the water, and a private outdoor space away from a few thousand other passengers. That's real. Nobody's imagining it. The question isn't whether that's worth having. The question is, on this cruise, with your schedule, is that thing actually worth what they're charging you for it? Because here's the strange part. The people who already lived it don't always match the fantasy. In a Reddit thread about Royal Caribbean, one user said it flat out. Balconies are a waste of money for most cruisers because everyone overestimates how much time they'll actually spend on them. Another passenger admitted in a completely different comment that she barely uses her cabin, but that she loves walking in and seeing the view. The same person who says I barely use it is the one who books the balcony again on her next cruise. That's not a contradiction. That's two different things being bought under one label, the actual private outdoor space and the idea of it. One of those is worth the money constantly. The other is worth it exactly as often as you step outside. And that's the first mistake almost everyone makes, treating the balcony like a matter of personal taste when it's actually a math problem. One where the answer changes completely from one cruise and one cruiser to the next. Itinerary changes everything. Picture two people booking a balcony cabin this week. Same cruise line, same ship class, same amount of money spent. One of them is about to make the best decision of their trip. The other one just wasted $600. What's the difference between them? It's not how much they like balconies. It's where their ship is going and how many days they'll actually spend on it. Here's the pattern that shows up again and again across completely unrelated trip reports. On scenic routes, Alaska's glaciers, the fjords of Norway, the Panama Canal. Travelers describe the balcony as half the experience, not an add-on. One cruiser sailing through Patagonia in South America said it straight. The scenery was going to be spectacular through cold weather regardless, so the balcony was a worthwhile splurge, not a luxury, a requirement. Now flip it. A port-heavy Caribbean itinerary can keep you off the ship for most of your waking hours. That balcony you pictured yourself using every morning and afternoon may spend most of the cruise sitting empty. But here's the part most people skip. Itinerary alone doesn't finish the math. Sea days do. A 7-night Caribbean cruise with 5 ports and 2 sea days is not the same purchase as a 7-night Caribbean cruise with 3 ports and 4 sea days, even though both get called Caribbean. A 3-night quick getaway with 1 sea day barely gives a balcony a chance to earn its price. A 14-night transatlantic with 6 sea days back-to-back is an entirely different equation. The balcony premium might be identical per night and still produce a completely different amount of value. And there's a second layer almost nobody accounts for: weather. A balcony in Alaska might become the best seat on the ship, or rain and wind might keep you behind the glass for most of the week. Hot weather sailings have the same problem in reverse. Heat and humidity can make that outdoor space far less inviting than it looked when you booked. Weather doesn't automatically make a balcony good or bad. It simply increases the risk that you're paying for outdoor space you won't be comfortable using as much as you expected. So the real formula isn't scenic or not. It's scenery, multiplied by how many sea days you actually have, multiplied by how you personally use a cabin, with weather adding another layer of uncertainty. But a balcony can make perfect sense for the itinerary and still make no sense at the price. The real price gap. Let's say you did the itinerary math right. You're ready to book the balcony. Here's the part that catches people off guard next. Balcony doesn't have one price. It has completely different prices depending on where you're sailing. And the booking page never tells you that up front. So how much extra are you actually agreeing to pay? Take a 3-night Bahamas cruise on Carnival Conquest. Depending on the sailing and when you book, the jump from oceanview to balcony can sometimes be only around $100 to $200 per person. For a short, warm weather trip, that's a relatively small premium. Now take a 7-night Alaska sailing on Voyager of the Seas. On some sailings, the jump from an interior cabin to a balcony can approach $1,000 per person. In some cases, that's nearly double the price of the room itself. Same word, completely different premium. On one sailing, the upgrade might be a relatively small part of your cruise budget. On another, it can rival the cost of the cabin you're upgrading from. This is why "is the balcony worth it" can't have one universal answer. Even a balcony that's harder to justify on a short cruise can make sense at the right price, while a balcony on a bucket list itinerary can become a genuinely hard call when the premium gets high enough. And even when the price makes sense on paper, there's still a way to pay full balcony price and get almost nothing for it. The obstructed view trap. You did everything right. Scenic route, fair price, balcony booked. And you still might end up staring at a lifeboat for the entire cruise. How does that even happen if you paid full balcony price? Cruise ship deck plans don't always tell the whole story. Lifeboats and tenders hang from the hull in specific spots, and depending on your deck, your private ocean view is actually a view of hard orange plastic a few feet from your face. One forum poster described it exactly like that. A lifeboat parked right outside, so close you could press your face to the glass and barely see water past it. Another passenger's obstruction wasn't equipment at all. It was a window washer, working right outside their balcony for most of the cruise. A third had a maintenance crew painting the hull outside their room, day after day, forcing them to keep the curtains shut the whole trip. Here's the part that catches people off guard. Known obstructions, like a permanent lifeboat blocking the view, are often disclosed at booking, and those cabins usually come with a discount. But the window washer, the painting crew, the temporary scaffolding, those aren't on any deck plan. They show up for a few days, mid-cruise, with zero warning. So the real trap isn't the lifeboat everyone already expects to negotiate on price. It's the obstruction nobody discloses because nobody can predict it, and you pay full balcony price with no idea what's about to show up outside your door. The part you can control isn't complicated. Before you book, check whether your specific cabin has a known obstructed view or sits near a lifeboat or tender, not just whether the category is labeled balcony. Temporary maintenance is harder to predict, but permanent obstructions are something you can check before you book. But there's still one assumption that can throw off the entire decision, because you may be comparing the wrong two cabins. The option everyone skips. Most balcony debates still get framed as if there are only two real choices, balcony or interior. But that's not true, and it leaves out what may be the most useful alternative of all. Cruise lines have also built newer, middle options. Take the Infinite Veranda, first introduced on Celebrity Edge, or Royal Caribbean's similar concept, the Infinite Balcony, offered on its Icon-class ships. Both feature floor-to-ceiling windows that lower to open the room to the air, but no true step-outside space, with pricing that can be close to a traditional balcony. Then there's the Virtual Balcony, an interior cabin with a large HD screen streaming a live ocean feed offered by Royal Caribbean and also by Norwegian Cruise Line on newer ships. It can save real money, often costing only slightly more than a plain interior cabin, but there's no outdoor access at all. But before you consider either of those, there's a simpler option most people skip entirely: regular ocean view. No balcony, but a real window and real daylight. often at a meaningfully lower premium than a balcony, without the neighbor noise or smoking drift problems balconies can have. If what you actually want is natural light and the ability to glance at the ocean, not a private outdoor room, Oceanview can get you most of that experience for a fraction of the cost. So the real spectrum isn't balcony or not. It's interior, ocean view, virtual balcony where it's offered, infinite veranda where it's offered, and traditional balcony, each solving a different problem. The question isn't which one is best. It's which problem you're actually trying to solve. The privacy problem. Let's say you go for the real thing, an actual outdoor balcony with direct access to the open air. Here's what people are actually buying with that. Once you strip away the brochure photo, private from the crowds, not necessarily private from your neighbors. Sitting at your table, standing at the door, in the middle of your own balcony, the divider between you and your neighbor is doing its job. On most ships, it's a solid metal panel or a frosted glass partition, built to block sightlines during normal use. But it doesn't run all the way to the edge of the railing. Step up to the rail or lean out even a little, and you can see straight into the balcony next to you, or the one below. Sound doesn't respect the divider at all, wherever you're standing. Conversations, phone calls, arguments, all of it can carry straight through. And then there's smoke. Smoking on cabin balconies is prohibited by many major cruise lines, but that doesn't mean every passenger follows the rule. If someone next door ignores it, cigarette or vape smoke can drift straight onto the balcony you paid extra to use. One cruiser described it taking 5 days before a smoking neighbor was finally dealt with by the crew. There's another privacy angle almost nobody thinks about: security cameras. One cruiser recalled being told by a security officer that onboard surveillance could see far more of passenger balconies than guests might assume. The important point isn't that someone is sitting there watching your balcony. It's that a balcony shouldn't be treated like a completely private space just because neighboring passengers can't easily see you. None of this means the balcony isn't worth it. It means the privacy you're buying is real but specific. An escape from a few thousand strangers, not a sealed-off private room. If that's what you actually wanted, you're getting exactly what you paid for. The $10,000 mistake. Even after all of this, the itinerary math, the price gaps, the obstruction risk, the privacy trade-off, there's still one way this can go wrong that has nothing to do with any of it. A former cruise ship purser shared this story. A passenger came to her office furious, insisting she'd paid $10,000 for a balcony cabin on a week-long Alaska cruise, and instead got assigned an ocean view room, no balcony at all. She was certain she'd been scammed. The purser emailed head office to sort it out. The records told a different story. The passenger had actually booked and paid for an ocean view room the entire time, at $4,000, not $10,000. No mistake by the cruise line. She had simply misunderstood her own booking from the start, and by the time she stepped on board, that misunderstanding had turned into a memory she was sure was true. That's the risk underneath every other risk in this video. You can get the itinerary right, dodge the obstructed view, understand every option available, and still lose the plot on the one thing that matters most: actually knowing with certainty what category you clicked confirm on. The balcony test. So forget the idea that there's one right cabin for everyone. At this point, the answer comes down to what kind of cruise you're taking and what kind of cruiser you are. One thing first, if you already know windowless rooms make you claustrophobic, stop here. An inside cabin isn't your option, no matter what the math says below. Go straight to ocean view or better. For everyone else, the decision comes down to 4 questions, and it starts with the cruise itself. 1. What's the itinerary? How many sea days does it actually have? And what weather are you likely to get? Alaska, Norway's fjords, the Panama Canal, or any sailing with more sea days than port days gives a balcony more chances to earn its price. But weather adds uncertainty. Rain and wind can keep you behind the glass, while heat and humidity can make the outdoor space less inviting than you expected. Weather doesn't decide whether a balcony is worth it. It changes how much you're likely to use it. 2. Is your cabin a bedroom or your private retreat from the ship? Some people use a cabin to sleep and shower, then spend the day everywhere else. Others build their day around it. Coffee out there in the morning, a book in the afternoon, watching the water before bed. Be honest about which one you are. It matters more than the itinerary does. 3. What's the actual balcony premium on this specific sailing? Not the general rule, the real number for this ship, this route, this season. Sometimes it's $120, sometimes it's $1,500. That number alone can make the decision for you. And here's the simplest way to test it. If that balcony cost you an extra $1,000, would you rather spend it here or keep that $1,000 for excursions or even put it toward another cruise? There's no right answer, but your answer tells you what kind of cruiser you are. 4. Could Oceanview get you most of what you actually want for less? If what you're really after is daylight and an ocean view, not a private outdoor room, Oceanview can solve that at a lower premium without the neighbor noise or smoking drift problems that can come with a balcony. Save the full balcony price for the itinerary where you'll genuinely live on it. Run your next cruise through these before you touch book. Because the honest truth is, some people would rather take 2 cruises in an inside cabin. Others would rather take 1 cruise with a balcony. Neither one is wasting money, unless they paid for the wrong experience. So, which side are you on? And if you've ever had a neighbor smoking on the balcony, I want to hear about that too. Tell me in the comments. And if this helped you make a smarter cruise decision, subscribe and check out more videos on the channel. They could save you money and headaches on your next cruise.